Hey YouTube, welcome back to UniX TCG. And there's been a lot of little shuffling. We've been doing a lot of stuff over here, but I am trying to figure out how to best move forward with the channel and the other endeavors as well. So today we are here to talk about the first ever ban/limited list balance adjustment of Battle Spirits Saga, the card game. And we're gonna jump into that. We're gonna read the actual announcement. We're gonna kind of give our thoughts about that and where we think that the format will be going in the future. Also, I want to say that we are almost at 5,000 subscribers. We're about 110 subscribers away. So if you are watching this and you have not joined the UniX fam, maybe think about doing that. Join the Discord, go in the description, check the link tree, look at all of the different places that you could just be a part of Universe X. We're gonna have a lot of fun here. I'm gonna be doing a lot more Battle Spirits content because I am diving into that game a lot more. And yeah, so with that being said, let us actually hop over into the view where we can look at these announcements. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you liked the video by the end of it, make sure you like the video, comment, let me know your thoughts, and maybe even subscribe if you want to stick around. So let's hit it. Okay, so here we are. Right now, we are at the Facebook page for Battle Spirits Saga, and something I wanted to point out that I started seeing them do with the start of the set 3 spoilers is that instead of just saying, oh, this card comes out here, or these are the cards that are out in this day's spoilers, they actually started putting story into the little post. And I like that because I am personally a very big proprietor of just lore in general. I'm a huge fantasy nerd. So when I started seeing these, I started reading the bottoms of every card and I realized that there's a lot of depth and lore to Battle Spirits Saga that I wasn't privy to before. So let me know in the comments if you guys are into it. Maybe I'll just, on my spare time when I get it again, start doing lore videos to kind of piece these stories together. But I am actually very much so enjoying the lore that I've been seeing in the Facebook and Twitter posts. So that being said, I'm gonna move over to the main shtick for this video. We have got the Battle Spirits Saga developers notes, and this is for the first banned and limited cards in anticipation, or for the game, but it's, yeah, banned and limited cards in anticipation for BSS 03, and it says, greetings summoners. We've been thrilled to see the enthusiasm for Battle Spirits Saga and to watch players innovate and explore a competitive landscape we strive to offer. We would like to share an important announcement with you about changes to the legal card pool in anticipation of BSS 03 Aquatic Invaders. In an attempt to keep a fresh gameplay environment and facilitate a diverse competitive metagame, Battle Spirits Saga will be introducing a banned and limited card list into the competitive format. Generally, any updates to the banned and limited cards list will be announced prior to the release of a new booster pack release and go into effect for premier events at the time of the set release. Cards in the ban list cannot be played in decks at competitive events, and cards cannot contain more than the specified number of copies on the cards for on the limited list. We may consider reintroducing cards to the ban and limited cards list or from them at a later date if their inclusion will provide a richer competitive landscape. So what we're seeing here is that they're giving themselves room to say, hey, this card may come back if the metagame allows for it, if these aren't detriments to competitive play, and I dig that. So let's actually move over to the cards that we have here, right? The very first one we have here is Volcanic Break. This is a limited card, so it's going to be down to 1 per deck, and we have it up on the screen already. Volcanic Break is a 5 cost with 2 reduction, so it's going to cost 3 in most of the decks that are playing it efficiently. And what it's going to do is destroy something with 3k or less power, but if you use the Soul Core in its casting, it's going to destroy something with 6k or less power. This is able to snipe quite a lot of things because the 6k barrier is a little hard to surmount early game. So it kind of makes it so that, you know, against Pterosaur, against red decks, you want to stabilize because they're generally going to be the more aggressive deck. But there aren't cards you can slide out. Like in set 1, Elk was one of them. You could slide out Elk and you can put him on the board to make sure that next turn you core him up. But while he's out of range of Burning Force, he's not out of range for a Soul Core Volcanic Break if he's just played with barely any cores on him. So this would make it so that you have to wait even longer to play out that Elk because you need to play him and be able to core him above Volcanic Break reach. So these are things that really just kind of have this card at a premium. It makes it very, very rough for opposing decks to deal with it because for 3, it's got a lot of power and it's blowing up some of your opponent's boss monsters while leaving yours just clear to do what they need to do. So here's their strategy, here's their notes on it. They said, in red strategies like Pterosaur, Volcanic Break has proved to be an extremely effective flash effect for destroying 5 to 6 cost spirits and aggressive decks of other colors, limiting the opportunity for counterattacks. Although there are various other aggressive deck archetypes in colors other than red, this card has been a major component in preventing them from being used effectively. By adding this card to the limited cards list, we aim to increase diversity in the kinds of aggressive decks that can be played in the upcoming and future metagame. Understood that. I do agree. I agree. The card is very active removal, and in the deck it's being played with, you can't be the most aggressive down to the ground while having some of the best spot removal, while also, no, it's just a lot. So now we're gonna move over to the banned cards. The first card may be a shocker to some, but shouldn't be a shocker to the people who are wondering. If they were gonna hit Pterosaur, this card did have a huge target on its back, and that's BSS 010 over Raptidon. Now, a lot of people are gonna be laughing because they are banning vanillas, but this vanilla had a big point to play. One, it's a 1 cost with 1 reduction, meaning that in most times of the game, it's just coming out for free and it's a free swing. 2, it's a Pterosaur, so it's going to count its symbols as two symbols to be able to put down Gigantorex. This leads to some extremely early Gigantorex plays that are going to come down and potentially start pushing your opponent into a landslide of backwards advantage they cannot go for, or recover from. So here's what they said. To manage the power level of Pterosaurs while keeping the archetype viable, we are adding Overraptidon to the banned cards list. Many decks can struggle with the early game pressure of Overraptidon followed by Jurassic King Gigantorex, and we have deemed this additional measure necessary to offset other changes that heavily impact control-based strategies. So that is pretty much right there in a nutshell. They said that this card is just a 1-drop. It comes out early, it comes out very cheaply, and it immediately feeds into Gigantorex. So now, you know, your 1-drop has to be your Rain Needle, but you normally have to get rid of Rain Needle in the process of casting something to make sure that the way is cleared for Gigantorex to use its effect. So this is actually pretty cool. This is going to turn most Rain Needles into Ramp Needles. You know, when you cast Gigantorex, you just get rid of the Rain Needle and take its core off so you can get the cool boost effect and, you know, level 3. So I think this is a pretty solid change. Next, we're going to move over to Netherworld Depths, and we all wanted this gone, at least most of us, and we kind of should have seen this coming. But you've got BSS 01, 106, Netherworld Depths in the current competitive landscape. This card has become a mainstay for many strategies. Most purple archetypes, white decks designed to stop mini attacks, and green and yellow decks that generate cores quickly. We have observed play patterns revolving around the early resolution of Netherworld Depths to be non-interactive and undesirable. Therefore, we have chosen to add it to the banned cards list and improve gameplay experience for deck building diversity. So, let me explain this in case you are not aware, and if you are aware, just hang tight because I'll try to keep it as quick as possible. Netherworld Depths was an auto 4-of in any deck that wasn't Pterosaur or white aggro. If you were not trying to kill your opponent within the first couple of turns or close it out maybe right after that, you were running 4 Netherworld Depths. When you were running 4 Netherworld Depths, you know how bad the game can get when you see Netherworld Depths and your opponent does not see a way to destroy it or their own. You are seeing twice as many cards as them. You never seem to run out of resources, whereas they will eventually get to 2-3 cards in hand and be struggling to try to close out game or defend themselves. Is awful. So 4 Netherworld Depths are coming in. We automatically have to run 4 Ice Shields. That's 8 cards out of your 60 already that are spoken for unless you are white aggro or Pterosaur. Now, we're going to move over. You cannot look your opponent in the eye knowing they could be playing 4 Netherworld Depths and not run 4 copies of Burning Force or King Vulture or a mix of the two. So we're already at 12 cards that have to be played in every single deck. Netherworld Depths, Absolute Ice Shield, and then the ways to get around Netherworld Depths. Passing that, you are now going to get into territory about cards like, I don't know, Thorn Prison, which are going to probably be in 2 to 4 copies in most decks in the game. So we are just literally seeing this part where these decks are becoming homogenous. A good 20 cards are the same in every single deck. Dream Bomb is a staple that goes into almost every single deck. So yeah, we are really looking at about 20 cards that don't change, and that's a lot. But Netherworld Depths will control the flow of a game. Sometimes if your opponent's close to death, you can try to push through 1. But if your opponent plays 1, you can't answer it, and you're early in the game, you can't allow them to build that advantage, having that many cards in hand while having that high life. And on top of that, if they play a second one, you don't have an out, that game is almost over. If you're in game 3 or it's game 2 and you have no other choice but to kind of try to play it out, go for it. But this is just a very, very rough place to be in. And I don't envy anybody in that position. So I agree with Netherworld Depths being hit, especially things that we're getting some Nexus. Like, it looks like, looking at some of these blue cards, you have a lot of Nexuses right off the bat, right? And then on top of seeing a lot of these Nexuses right off the bat, when you look at the starter deck cards that they first released, actually before you even look at that, you have a blue card that brings back a Nexus, right? And then after a blue card that brings back a Nexus in the lore set, you have got these, you have got certain one of these cards, exhaust one of your Nexus to select one of your opponent's spirits, you know, just Nexus based play. If one of your blue Nexus is exhausted, there's some Nexus stuff. And if you look at battle spirits in Japan, you know that blue is the color to be able to recycle Nexuses. So if they keep it to blue Nexuses only, I would be very, very, very happy that, you know, I'd be happy that Netherworld couldn't be abused. But now that Netherworld's gone, I'm very much so excited, because I would be so sick if your opponent could just play something like a Netherworld that you work to get off the grave, and they don't even have to, like, you know, work for it again. They just have to find the blue card and bring it back. This guy is pretty hefty, and he plays it, so I'm just kind of like, ew. But like, yeah, I would not be happy to see more of these effects with a card like Netherworld still in the game. So that's a pretty cool thing. Now, looking back at the rest of the stuff, we now have Axe Spider. And Axe Spider, a lot of people have felt this way for a little bit. Once it gets established, it's one of the stickiest cards in the game, really only being outed by Dream Bomb, and that's until it's backed by Enterprise Fortress Dragon, in which case that card is borderline untouchable, and combined with Suppression or Infinity Shield, it essentially will end an entire turn in the sense that it cannot be removed. So this is becoming kind of an issue, and yes, we've seen a lot of white-purple thrive and win without seeing this card, but if we don't have to deal with it, we don't have to deal with it. That's kind of my deal right now. I don't see why we should subject ourselves to being ran through by this card, because it is unbalanced. If your opponent does see one or two, it's a completely different game for if they see none, but it's just way too solid all around. So what they said is this card is proven to be an over-centralizing cornerstone of heavy control-heavy white strategies. The viability of many archetypes seems to be determined on their ability to address this card in tandems with spells like Suppression and Infinity Shield. Besides the strength of this combination limiting card diversity amongst white strategies, this tactic has also contributed to games taking longer to complete than we have anticipated. We aim to alleviate both issues through adding this card to the ban list. So now, so far, a lot of your Infinity Shield and Suppression targets will be able to be bounced or removed or minused, things like that, tapped. That doesn't really matter for Infinity Shield or Suppression, but these things will be able to be addressed a lot easier, not on an indestructible beat stick. So moving forward, you got, while we generally will be updating the ban limited card list with a release of new booster pack products, we'll be implementing those changes starting October 6, 2023 to align with the updated release of LO1 Ancient Heroes lore set in North America. These adjustments will be in effect for the Pro Tour event on October 28th through 29th, 2023. And the next time summoners are notified of additional regulations to the card pool is scheduled to be the release of BSS 04. Thank you for your continued support of Battle Spirit Saga. We strive to produce a game all fans can enjoy, the Battle Spirit Saga team. So they are right here saying strongly they will make another adjustment once BSS 04 comes out, so look forward to that. But personally, I think this is pretty cool. I was very afraid, because if you hurt Netherworld Depths and Axe Spider but you didn't address Pterosaur just becomes almost tier 0. But with this in mind, with Over Raptidon being banned and Volcanic Break being limited to 1, they still have Star Blast Draw, they still have Canyon, and they still have Scorched Battlefield, but they don't have their 1-drop Pterosaur, and they don't have Volcanic Break for your removal. So I think that at this point we are at a point where we can start seeing some other things breathe. Now, between this ban list and cards like Floodstream being introduced from the starter deck, I really do think that aggro is going to have a harder time just solidifying itself as just a de facto go-to get it done deck. It's going to have to play a lot harder and think a lot cleaner to get from point A to point B, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with aggro being able to kill people on turn 3 or 4 if it actually takes a heightened level of cognitive skill. And sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. So currently right now. So I'm glad I'm here for this change. Let me know in the comments what you think, because I personally think we're about to start seeing mid-range red a lot more. We're about to start seeing mid-range in general go crazy. White mid-range is very, very strong, but we might actually see half the cards in red that weren't, I don't know, pterosaurs being played. We might actually see some really cool stuff, like looking at the cards that have been released, which I'll go over soon enough as archetypes. Green has been getting a fair amount of Gale support. So I'm actually very excited to see what's going to happen, because we might start seeing the resurgence of mid-range, and that's going to open up a lot of strategies that we haven't seen so far. So with that being said, I'm super excited. I hope you guys are too. Let me know in the comments what you think about this ban list, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.